honeys, it's Yolz and welcome back to my channel. Today I am finally answering the property questions from my previous how I bought my first property at 22 video. Let's get straight into this Q&A. Give this video a massive thumbs up if you found it useful, and of course don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Mwah.
Hey there, it's Yolz channel.
Alright, so the first question is from Nomsa Kumala, and she is asking, is it better to buy a house or to build? Build if the land is cheap, okay? When it comes to building, the question is land price, and the question is it where you want to live? You don't want to build in an area you don't want to live in because the land is cheap. Do you get what I'm saying? So say you want to live in Bryanston, the houses there, I mean the cheapest house could be around 3 million, depending on which area in Bryanston you want to live in. 3 million, 4 million, 5 million rand house. Fine, you have 5 million in your pockets, for instance, and there's land available. If the land is going for a million rand, you'd rather buy the land and then build. But if the land is going for 4 million and you still have to build, and maybe you want to build a 5-6 story house, then you're better off buying. I hope that really makes sense. It's really a question of land price and the overall money that will be spent building that house versus buying a house that's already built in an affluent area or in an area you want to live in. If it's an investment property, for instance, say you are building in the Eastern Cape and you're building student accommodation, I'd say rather build than buy an existing house, because then you can build what you desire on land that's generally affordable. I mean, comparing land there compared to the Western Cape or Gauteng, it's much cheaper there, and if it's closer to a university, you can get away with getting a larger size piece of land for a cheap price and build student accommodation for investment purposes at a price that you can determine depending on the size of the development that you want. And of course, if it's income generating, you'd rather build, but always consider the final cost at the end of the day. By the way, if you do want to build, also consider the fact that you will need approved plans. You'll need a builder that's NHBRC approved, and there's a lot more involved in building as well. There's also costs that come up as you are building. There's servicing of the land if the land's not serviced. There's a lot that's involved in building. There's a lot to consider, but at the end of the day, if you do find cheap land, I'd say go for it and definitely build, but be aware that there's a lot more involved than just simply getting a key in a house and that's that. So Mukhalang Kwena Shika asked, can you please explain how to build a credit record? So in my previous property video, I advised that it's better to build a credit record with a credit card rather than a clothing store account. And I say this because it's much easier. You go into the bank, obviously you must be working, you must be earning a salary. You go to the bank, you apply for a credit card. Generally, your limit will be determined by the income that you earn. What I say is go for the lowest limit. For my first credit card, I asked for a 10,000 rand limit. That was it. They said you qualify for 35,000, 40,000, and I was like, nope, no thank you. I just want the minimum, because all I'm trying to do is build a credit record. From there, you must pay off at least 5% every single month. The minimum is 5% of your credit card every single month, okay? Now, in order for you not to default, my advice is for you to have an automatic payment order on this. In other words, the easiest term to use is a debit order, okay? So what I did at the time was actually set 600 rand as a debit order that goes to my credit card every single month, okay? I don't have to look at it. I just have to know that my account has got enough to pay off my credit card. 600 rand every month. I went over. 5% of 10,000 is 500 rand. But just to be safe, because I was that person, just to be safe, I made it 600 rand. And then you have to be active. You have to actually utilize this credit card. So utilize your credit card for online purchases and booking flights and those kind of things, needs that you really know that you could be using your debit card, but it's probably safer to use your credit card anyway, because you are more likely to get your money back when you're using a credit card if there's any type of fraud that's done on your cards. And yeah, if you're going on holiday, rather book with your credit card, and if you are going to go on holiday, rather utilize your credit card on holiday rather than your debit card, but make sure that you are paying it back. So over the first 3 months of you utilizing your credit card, you are actually building your credit record. And if you are disciplined, you are making sure that the credit bureau is seeing you as somebody that's got a great score. Sandisiwe Noholoza asked for some do's and don'ts before you buy a property, and the first thing is, I just mentioned it now, check your credit score. If you have an existing credit score, double check it, find out where you are standing with the credit bureau. If it's bad, try to fix it. Give yourself 3 months to just fix your credit record, improve it, and just make right with your creditors, okay? Pay back the money if you need to. And if you are in right standing, then visit the bank and start inquiring about how much you can qualify for. Research different areas you'd like to live in. Don't be that person who sees one house and is just like, yes, I want to buy that house. No, find out about the area, find out about the crime rate in the area, the security in the area. Also find out about the rates and levies if you can. This is very difficult, but you can find out from agents. You can even find out from Property 24. Some places, some houses are advertised and the levy is mentioned there. It's really crucial for you to research before you even think of, yes, that's a house I'm buying now. To do as much research on the neighborhood as well, because if you're either going to be investing in it or living in that house, you want to make sure that that 20-year commitment is worth it. Alrighty, my next do is find out about appreciation prices. Look at, you know, the last 5 years, the past 5 years, has this property or has this area actually improved in terms of property prices? Find it on Property 24. It's easy, you know. Look at how property prices have changed over time. Talk to different agents. Give an agent a call, guys. Most of these people are actually really nice and they're willing to answer your question. And then also look at rental rates. Find out if rental rates have increased from last year and the year before. If they have, find out by how much, you know, in terms of percentage. Is it 10%? Is it 15%? Residential rates generally go up by 5 to 10% really, and if they have gone up, that's a good investment, so then go for it. Then of course, spend wisely. Start spending your money wisely now. Start having a saving consciousness in your head. Start making sure that you can actually afford another property. So look at hopefully having more than 30% of your disposable income sitting there waiting to be utilized for a house installment, or you know, your levies, your rates that are all involved. Just make sure that you do have a 30% buffer at the end of the month that is not going to your expenses, that's not going to your day-to-day living. Now for the don'ts. Do not be in between jobs while you are applying for a house. Stability is key for the bank, so don't be changing jobs at the same time. Rather, settle in your new job and then apply for a house, but the bank does not want instability. You want the bank to know that you're a stable person, and also job-wise, your income is stable, because essentially, they just want to know if you can pay the installments at the end of every month for the long run. Do not settle easily. Please don't be that person who sees the first house and they are all of a sudden attached. I know your gut feeling will probably tell you this is perfect, but it may not be the right one for you now. Don't be hasty with this process. Take your time. This is a 20-year commitment that you're going to make, or 30-year in fact. Now they give loans for 30 years, okay? So take your time. Don't be hasty. Make sure, you know, that you are open-minded about your decision. Even the area, make sure that it's variable. You can change your mind later, because things come up, you learn things, and also this deal might fall through and you are so attached, and then somebody makes an offer there and there while you are waiting for your approval from the bank, and you're heartbroken because the house is taken. So always have an open mind and don't settle easily. Don't stop asking any questions. Ask. Make sure that you're sitting with your banker. If you can, my banker was nice enough at the time to give me their number. I was able to set weekly appointments every single Friday lunchtime. I would sit down with him, and this was a good 3 or 4 weeks that we spent just sitting and planning, you know, me asking questions in and out about the house that I want. Should I buy a new development? Should I buy an existing house? And these are things that I asked him, but also did my research in the back end just to make sure that the decision that I make is the right one, because I was young at the time. I did not know much, and as much as I worked at a bank, I needed to get the right acumen from him who's qualified to give home loans, and him who knows a lot more about the decision I'm about to take. Don't ever skip a payment, please. If you're gonna be doing this, make sure you are gonna be faithful for the long run. 240 payments in 20 years. It's a lot of payments, it's a lot of time, but make sure that you never ever skip it. If you see a month is going bad and you might not make it, go speak to your bank, make an arrangement. And the last don't is, do not ignore the fact that there are many other costs involved in buying a house. There's maintenance, there's levies, there's rates, there's the refuse, there's a lot of costs that are involved. It's like having a baby, really. You get more than just the baby. So with the house comes the house and the cost. There are levies if you're living in a complex, there are municipal rates, there are taxes, the bin, umatas bin, that you are paying for every month in the form of your monthly rates. The water that you are drinking, you're paying for all of those things. So please keep in mind that you have to also make sure your pocket has got enough for those monthly expenses. Ense Masenya asks, what happens if I buy my property cash versus getting a bond from the bank? The biggest difference is if you buy cash, there's no debt. You owe nobody anything, okay? You are at a zero in terms of owing the bank. When you get a bond, you're paying it over time, and you're not just paying off the house, you're paying off the interest that comes with the house, okay? So two different things, and technically the bank still owns your house because that's how they repossess. Repossession means it's back to us. Yes, the title deed has got your name, but the bank has actually paid whoever you bought the house from the money, right? Yeah, that's the biggest difference. I would say if you have the cash, buy cash. Zoe Mrubata asked, what is the recommended percentage of deposit that you should be putting down? So I know that Atandile Nonjuzana actually also answered in the comment section. Great girl, thank you so much for doing that. The recommended generally is 10% if you can put down a deposit. My personal advice is if you've got a 30 or 40% deposit, put it in there. It just lessens your debt with the bank. I am all about a debt-free generation. So if you can cut down on your long-term debt as possible, you definitely would rather do that. But that is only if you do have the money and if you see that you'd rather use it towards that. If you'd rather put the money into a car, then buy the car. Buy the car cash, okay? And then make sure that you are paying off the bank over time. Next question is from Neo Magnolia. She's also a YouTuber. Hey girl, check out her channel if you can. She's asking, buy while you are single or wait till you're married in a year's time. If it's an investment property, then buy while you're single. That's what I did. And of course, when I went into marriage, I made sure that that's outside of our marriage contractually, and then make sure that that's not going to hinder you in terms of qualifying jointly when you and hubby want to buy a house together. Sister to Dodo asks, is it a good idea to buy a more affordable home with lots of potential as a first property? My answer is yes, if the property is well located. Okay, if you're gonna buy a house with great potential and you know you're going to renovate it and give it a facelift, you want to make sure that it's going to appreciate in value and that you are going to actually see your money's worth at the end of the day. But yeah, if it's got lots of potential, buy it if it's well located. Location, location, location. Sister also asked about the cash deposit. So the thing about the cash deposit is the more you put in, the less you owe the bank in terms of the final amount. If you're buying a 500,000 Rand house and you put in 100,000 Rand deposit, you only owe the bank 400,000 in terms of the actual balance. Of course, that's not the balance with the interest included, but it also means that the interest that is included there is on a lesser amount than the original cost of the house, which would have been 500,000 Rand. Nompumelelo Gaza asked, do you continue paying municipal rates and taxes and levies even after you've paid off your house? Yes, babes, you continue. They are independent of what you've done with the bank. They're independent of the home loan. Remember, the bank literally works with the bond loan and whatever is involved. So I pay my insurance through my bank. My home insurance is also through my bank, but that's, I don't know if every bank does that, but that's what I do. So so that's with the bank. All the costs associated with my home loan, I pay off the bank and that's finished. But everything else associated with the actual property, the water, the refuge, the services, everything that's involved, the levies, that continues as long as I'm the owner of the house. So yes, you continue paying it until you sell the house. Dogos Asizwele asked, what did you mean when you said you pay off your credit card every month whether you use it or not? So I did explain this earlier in one of the questions. I've got an automatic payment order, so it's like a debit order that goes off whether or not I use my credit card. Say today my balance is 1,000 Rand on my credit card, and if my automatic payment order is 1,000 Rand every month, it will pay that 1,000 Rand off this month, and then next month, whether or not I use my credit card, the 1,000 Rand will still go into my credit card. That will be a positive balance on my credit card. So that means I can still either utilize more or less of the 1,000 rand, either way it's unaffected. My debit order will still go off. What's great about it is that the amount will be there. It's not like the bank is going to take it. No, I can still grab my 1,000 bucks. It's going to be at a positive balance, so to call it. And then Pelonomi Mahoti asked me to explain the whole thing of paying an extra 200 rand a month, how that affects, you know, your home loan. Alrighty, so the whole thing about paying extra every month lowers the term of the loan over time. Okay, so here's an example. You have bought a property of 500,000 and there's 10% interest on this for 20 years, okay, 240 months. Okay, if you started today and you paid 500 rand every single month extra on top of your installments, you would reduce your loan term to only 15 years and about 4 months based on my calculations. Okay, so that's literally what you are doing when you're paying an extra. You are lowering your term. You are cutting down on the number of years that you'd actually originally paying if you weren't paying extra. I'll actually leave a link of the Nedbank Private Wealth Amortization calculation table right in the description box, so that you can do the calculations yourself. You can play around with the numbers, see what happens if you pay in 500 rand or 200 rand every single month to your original amount, and then you see the number of years reduce in the form of months. Alrighty, so those are the property questions that I've answered today. I do promise to actually answer the rest of the questions in another part next month. Hopefully it was very informative and helpful. Let me know down below if you're planning to buy a house or to build. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. I love you guys so much. Bye.